Bingo! How fun! But I digress. Where were we? Yeah, make a deal.
Ever met someone who could win everyone over with a warm smile, calm voice, and a confidence that kept you off balance? And only later did you realize that they were quietly pulling everything apart.
No! Oh my God! No, no! Let's talk.
That's what makes Hans Landa from Inglourious Basterds and Lalo Salamanca from Better Call Saul so chilling. They don't threaten, they charm, and that charm hides something much darker. I'm Dr. Patrick Kingsep, clinical psychologist, and in this video, we're going to break down the psychology behind people who weaponize charm. We're going to look at how they do this, why it works on us, and how to spot it before the damage is done. There's a scene early in Inglourious Basterds where Hans Landa visits a French dairy farmer. He's hunting for hidden Jewish families, but he doesn't storm in or interrogate. He compliments the farmer's daughters. He smiles. He takes his time. He asks for a glass of milk. It all feels civil, disarming. But the entire interaction is an act of control.
The feature that makes me such an effective hunter of the Jews is, as opposed to most German soldiers, I can think like a Jew.
He's not just playing a role. He's setting a trap and doing it with such ease that the farmer feels he has no choice but to give in. Lalo Salamanca operates the same way. When he shows up, he's the guest you almost want to like. Huge smile, he brings gifts, he asks seemingly thoughtful questions. And while you're trying to figure out how he's so relaxed, he's already decided what he's going to do with you.
Well, like I said, to talk.
I think I'm in the middle of something.
Here's the part most people miss. Their charm isn't just a trait, it's a tactic. They don't default to charm because they're naturally likable. They choose it because it's effective. It softens resistance. It buys time. It makes the people around them want to believe that everything will be okay, but it isn't. When someone is calm, smiling, and generous with their attention, your brain starts filling in the blanks. You want the situation to be safe, so you lean into that version. And you know this. That's why they rarely push. They let you talk yourself out of the alarm bells.
Oh, hey, llegaste aquí justo a tiempo. Hold on one second. Wait, you are going to love this.
If you've ever felt like something was off with someone but couldn't put your finger on it, it's often because of this exact strategy. You're responding to warmth, but ignoring what it might be covering. And that's what makes this kind of charm dangerous. It doesn't just lower defenses. It creates just enough self-doubt that you hesitate. And in that hesitation, the damage is already underway. Hans and Lalo don't just use charm to win people over. They use it to keep people stuck, unsure, polite, cooperative, long enough to take exactly what they came for. When someone uses charm to manipulate, they're performing, and the best performances don't look like performances at all.
These are my people. Yolanda, she is the best cook in all of Chihuahua. You're gonna eat like you have never eaten before in your life.
That's what makes this behavior so hard to spot. Hans Landa doesn't just enter a room, he controls it. In the strudel scene with Shoshana, he doesn't need to raise his voice or reveal his power outright. He draws out the interaction slowly, gently insisting that she add cream to her dessert, smiling while she obeys. It's awkward, and it's a psychological test. He's watching her closely, letting her know, without ever saying it, that he's in charge and she isn't safe. It's psychological suffocation disguised as courtesy. Now think about Lalo Salamanca at the construction site. He's casual, inquisitive, friendly. He jokes with the men working there. But he's not there for the connections.
What a pleasure. I've heard so much about you. that right?
He's hunting for information. Every move he makes is about gathering control while giving nothing away. This is how performance works when it's used to manipulate. The person in front of you is playing a version of themselves designed specifically to control your reactions. And you know what the most effective tactic they use is? It's making sure you doubt your own read of the situation. Because when you can't prove something is wrong, you often convince yourself it's fine. Now, if you've ever walked away from a conversation thinking, that was strange, but maybe it's just me, you know exactly what this feels like. And it's usually not just you. It's someone else shaping the narrative so carefully that you lose access to your own. It's not just deceptive. It leaves you feeling like you can't trust your own perceptions. And that confusion doesn't come from an accident. It comes from performance, the kind that's calm, it's charming, and it's completely choreographed to keep you guessing. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions about dangerous people is that they'll be easy to spot, that their anger or their instability will give them away. We often think to ourselves, I would know if I was in danger. But that's rarely how it plays out in these sort of situations. What's far more unsettling is when someone remains completely calm, composed, and collected, even in the tensest moments. But Hans Landa and Lalo Salamanca have an eerie stillness to them. They don't react. They don't get flustered. That lack of visible emotion doesn't mean they're in control of themselves. It means they're in control of you. Because when someone isn't reacting at all, your nervous system doesn't know what to do. Your natural fight or flight freeze instincts, they get short-circuited. You find yourself off balance, unsure, watching them for cues that just never come. The composure is calculated. It signals dominance without saying a word. In psychological terms, it creates what's called asymmetry of affect. So when one person is anxious or uncertain, the other is cool and unaffected. And that imbalance gives a composed person all the power. The people often confuse that kind of calm with confidence or emotional maturity, but it's sometimes a sign of rehearsed control, not emotional health. Now think about the scene where Lalo visits Kim and Jimmy in Better Call Saul.
Who are you?
Me? Nobody. I just need to talk to my lawyers.
His tone is easy. His smile never drops. But everyone in that room is terrified, including us as viewers.
I don't care. You too. You two in your mouths, Dios mío. Now you listen.
That's not a moment of emotional regulation. That's a performance meant to keep everyone silent. Hans Landa does the same thing during that opening interrogation scene. His cheerfulness doesn't make the moment less threatening. It is the threat. So if you've ever felt yourself shrinking in a conversation with someone who's remained totally still, totally in control, and somehow made you feel like you were the irrational one, that wasn't by accident. That was the performance. And the point wasn't to connect. It was to dominate without ever having to raise their voice. And that's often where psychological intimidation is most powerful. When someone can maintain eye contact and stay pleasant and let you squirm without ever shifting their tone, that's someone who isn't just dangerous. That's someone who's enjoying the power they have.
Was jetzt, Oberst?
Now, this is where I think it gets really interesting. As viewers, we're drawn to these characters. We find them entertaining. We admire their intelligence, their timing, even their humor. But why? Because our brains respond positively to charisma. We like people who appear confident and articulate and composed. And when that charm is paired with humor or intelligence, it creates a kind of cognitive dissonance. We know they're dangerous, but we're still impressed.
I just keep them around because they're so pretty, right?
This is something Tarantino and Better Call Saul play with deliberately. They want you to like these characters, to be a little bit seduced by them. And then they pull the rug out, forcing you to reckon with the fact that you actually like someone who did something awful. That's not just good storytelling. It's a psychological mirror. It shows us how easily we're swayed by presentations and how we overlook when someone appears calm and funny or in control. So you're likely wondering, well, how do I spot this sooner? Now, there are patterns, and not just dramatic ones, small, realistic moments that tend to repeat across different relationships. These people, they always seem to get you to open up early, but you leave knowing almost nothing about them. Their warmth feels real in the moment, but it rarely leads to a deeper sense of mutual connection. Instead, you might feel kind of slightly overexposed. They never seem flustered because they don't let themselves be seen. Now, if something upsetting happens and they remain completely unfazed, you might tell yourself it's composure or emotional maturity. But it could also be a red flag, a sign they're staying in control by staying emotionally removed, just distancing themselves. Now, another clue is when you express something vulnerable about yourself or you set a small boundary. But it's just like their response, it just doesn't seem to make sense. They might be polite, appropriate, but something about it feels off. Like they heard you but didn't actually register it. And here's one clue that I think many people overlook. They seem to almost walk away from the interaction having gained something.
I was wondering if there's maybe something that, my friend missed.
I showed him everything I've got.
Show me what you showed him.
They've taken your time, your trust, your story, and you're left with this lingering sense that you gave too much, or you just got lost in the exchange between the two of you. You don't need dramatic evidence to take your discomfort seriously. Sometimes all you need is that internal shift, the moment when a conversation that seemed pleasant leaves you more confused than connected. So what do Hans Landa and Lalo Salamanca actually teach us? They reveal how charm can be used not to build relationships, but to hide intentions. They remind us that not everyone who makes us feel safe is safe. And they show us how dangerous it is to assume that danger always looks loud and angry or unstable. In both characters, we see a form of evil that is composed, it's strategic, and it's very deeply performative. They don't just want to win, they want to control the moment so thoroughly that the other person forgets they ever had a choice in the matter. And that's not just chilling in fiction, it happens in real life. Whether in politics or relationships or leadership roles, we've all encountered people who smile while they undermine.
Michael, is that you?
If you ever found yourself strangely drawn to Lalo or Hans, that's not an accident. That's part of the psychology at play. We're all wired to respond to charm, and that's exactly why it can be so dangerous. Now, if this breakdown helps shift how you see these characters, or even how you think about real-world charm, let me know in the comments. And if you want to understand more about performance and control and how personality works in other characters, check out the next video. It'll change how you see power entirely.